Hello and welcome to a process of an egg adopt. And one of my favorite services, a person buys the egg and I hatch it. And most of the time when I make the eggs, I try not to think about anything. I just try to be okay. What would look like it would hatch into a cool thing that I've never seen before, or what kind of egg haven't I never seen before. And so this one was inspired by just fungus. And as you saw in the beginning, I messed up, and I they wanted a pharaoh, which is four-legged creature, but I did a humanoid. And so with the humanoid, I kept their species facts the same, but it's just minor differences. But anyway, so with the humanoid, um, so both are their fungus parasite, each by infecting living creatures around it with its spores. And it can either kill a single creature, which is the most painful and creepy version, because the person will gradually become a trypophobic nightmare. And the other way is the more humane, well, the more kindly way to do it. And the one that, like the first way they killed, that's mainly for battle and like war and intense. But the second one is for like when they're not in war, and that's more custom to. So the second one is they infect a large number of people with the spores, and that way the person don't even know. So like the spores would gather like little bits of the person from the inside, and when the person breathes, they'll go back to the creature and feed them that way. And so most of the time people don't even know. And but if they, it depends on the number, so if it's like half, so if it's like a not that many people, then the person will have like a bad cough and it'll burn, when you have that bad cough and it hurts. So anyway, um, I keep an encyclopedia of all my creatures. So let me go down the list. Adults can control if their spores eat or not and how much. So they could choose to just have them dormant in people, but it only lasts a few while. Like it needs to eat, otherwise the spore will die. And how they eat, yeah, can be a offensive weapon, as I mentioned. And so when they walk, they leave a two-step trail of spore stalks in their wake. So it looks like they're digging into the ground, but there's not really. It's like they're leaving bits of themselves, but it dies off each time they walk, and it's like they're walking on their spores. It looks like. Oh, and here's the Sorry, let me skip. Here's the armor. So the armor is a part of them. So you see how the creature is thick. Well, their armor is like made up of their own. So it's usually a skill that must be trained and conditioned to use, and similar to how they infect living creatures for food, but instead it's inanimate objects and material, and they can't gain nutrients from it. So, like their shell, their armor is made up of the inanimate objects. They deteriorate with their spores, and because that's how it gets the form. So their form look like one they ate before. And let me go back to the creature. So and oh, and with how they walk, they leave a trail, very small trail, and it looks like they're walking on spores. Well, the younger ones, their trail is longer because they're young and they don't know any better, and their spores can be transferred. So by order of least to most potent, like breath, skin, and blood, in how the spores are transferred. So spores can survive for a limited amount of time outside the body, outside the creature. And so breath, it's like it could last a week, and skin contact, skin, it could last a day, and blood, could last like a minute to an hour, and like the spore in the person. So on his skin, our blood spores can do a kill type, the first kind of kill where they infect one person and they look like a trypophobic nightmare and it's very painful. And the truly skilled and educated creature can knock out a person with their spores instead of killing them. And those who can do this can usually do the special armor skills. Um, like with their armor, usually they can't eat while the armor is activated. But if they're really skilled, then they can eat while armor is activated and transmutate the actual material into their armor as part of their armor. And sorry, I wrote a lot for this one. And so with the armor, they choose the item they want on their armor, uh, like what kind of armor they choose by disintegrating and eating it. It's like their sports memorize like how the armor is and the material used, and they use that ingrained memory to build their armor from themselves, and so they look smaller um, when they have their armor activated. And the only thing that they don't make from themselves is their weapon. So their weapon is like an actual material, outside material that they didn't make with their own body, and the denser and stronger the material of their armor, the similar they'll look. Like as it uses their own body material to make said density. So they try to go for the strongest ones. And here you see me switching to the pharaoh. Um, so I just completely had to redraw the whole thing because it just would not work if I tried to recycle parts of the humanoid. So the difference with so everything else is the same, but the difference is so the male they could like choose. Oh yeah, they could choose their gender, like but most of them choose both. But and with the pharaoh, the males are taller and have a thinner mane. Or I think the pharaoh, the pharaoh can't choose, but the humanoid can. So the pharaoh, the females carry their baby spores in the pouch around the neck. So this is a female character, and hence the mane. And those who are in term would have a bigger mane than what I drew here. And in the wild, their armor is plain and just looks like a smooth barrier. Um, but the fancy armor, like the one I drew for this one, it's a sign that they were trained and that they were born into captivity. And this particular character is a retired military field soldier whose owner and partner in the field turned them into a show pet. So it was like I'm thinking it was a therapeutic way for the owner um, from after their like battles and stuff. So it was therapeutic for that activity to change them into a show dog. But now that I have some time, let me go back to the armor. And so the armor can help them hide better and run faster. This goes for both versions, humanoid and pharaoh. And it leaves no trail when they walk. Um, and they and as I mentioned, generally they can't eat while their armor is on, but it's an incredibly difficult skill to attain because they're already exerting energy by turning most of their body into the armor and increasing the density. So to eat while the armor is activated is a very incredible skill. And a shortcut, like bypassing the skill, is by using a weapon. And that's what the weapon you saw from the humanoid. So if you don't know if they can't eat while the armor is activated, then the weapon can help. So they use the sharp hilt of the weapon to like cut themselves, so their blood spores can be transferred to the enemy. And so, or by touch, like if they make a hole in their, if they're able to make a hole in their armor and have the person like touch them, that could help work too. But usually it's the blood because the blood is faster. And so and oh and so yeah, I think that's about it. But you could read the rest if you go to feedback.com, and under benefit program you'll see encyclopedia. So yeah, benefit members only they have access to it, and it basically lists all of my concepts and species designs since about a year ago. I have a lot more than a year ago, but only a year ago is when I made this encyclopedia, so people could have access to the creatures, information on the creatures. And I'm very open to the idea of having people use the concepts they order from me, like as part of their games or something. And one day I will be making a book that'll have listed all, and so it'll be like a book one could use for like the D&D games and stuff. And I think that would be cool. And so you can see side by side, the pharaoh has a lot more of the spores. That's why this took like 10 hours. So about five for each, you could say. But thank you so much. Please subscribe. It's just a click and it will help me a lot. Or you join the benefit program. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Bye.